Good evening, Rowan. It's the 1st of May 2016 and it's just about 10 o'clock, and I'm making this video quite early this evening because I want to be getting on with some things while the video is uploading. So I'd like to wish you a happy anniversary today, because the 1st of May is the anniversary of the founding of the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776. And it's also the anniversary of the fake assassination of Osama bin Laden in 2011. So that's a coincidence, isn't it? And he'd already been dead for years anyway. He had kidney failure, everybody knows that. But you obviously, being controlled opposition like Emmanuel Goldstein in Orwell's 1984, you're actually on YouTube making this statement that he shouldn't have been killed, he should have been brought to trial, and then you hastily put in the comment, he was a war criminal, but justice should be seen to being done, or something like that. Should be seen to be being done. And this is controlled opposition that you appear to be criticising the manner of the assassination of Osama bin Laden, and this is to deflect people's attention, because some people were quite outraged about you making this statement, and this was put in the media saying, oh, you know, we knocked down the Twin Towers and he's responsible for all these bad things and so on. So you distracted people's attention from asking the question, well, is this story even true at all? Which of course it isn't, because he'd already been dead for years. So that's what happened in 2011, the fake assassination of Osama bin Laden, and you made your Emmanuel Goldstein statement about it on YouTube. Well, it was probably in other places as well, but it's on YouTube at the moment. So that's the happy anniversary message for this evening, the anniversary of the founding of the Bavarian Illuminati in 1776 and the fake assassination of Osama bin Laden. So I hope you like my decorative display this evening as well, of the magic mushroom and the candle. I'm talking about gaslighting a bit in this slideshow that I've put together, with a clip of Thomas Sheridan talking about gaslighting. He's done a lot of research into psychopaths and written some books about it, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube where he's talking about psychopaths. So he could have been studying you, really, couldn't he? Anyway, but I didn't have a gaslight to have on my video, because we've even got electricity in Yorkshire, believe it or not. Even in Yorkshire we've got electricity. So I thought a candle would have to do. So that's to represent the gaslight, and the magic mushroom is to represent the fact that you appear to inhabit an alternative universe. You're completely out of touch with reality, because, as I've said, you keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting to get a different outcome. And someone defined that as insanity. It's been attributed to Einstein, but I don't think it was him. But anyway, that was one definition of insanity. Keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different outcome, which is what you do, because you're incapable of learning, because you're a psychopath. And this actually reminds me of the man who shot Pope John Paul II. He shot him, and the Pope survived, and then sometime after that he met this man who'd shot him. Now, the man agreed to meet him, but instead of saying things like, oh, wasn't it awful, I shot you, and isn't it lucky that you recovered and I hope you're feeling okay, or something along those lines, or, well, I'm glad I did it, or anything like that, anything that a kind of relatively sane person might have said, he was saying things like, I just can't understand why you're not dead, because I'm really good at shooting. Can you understand that at all? And this was because he was obviously a psychopath, because that's the way that psychopaths think. They make a certain action and they expect a certain outcome, and it's very confusing when they don't get the outcome they're expecting from the action that they've done. And this is what your behaviour is like. You just can't understand why you're pressing what you think are the right buttons in me, but I'm not reacting in the right way according to your paradigm, according to your fantasies about how the universe operates. But you're not in touch with reality, you see. You're living in a fantasy world that's all in your head. The same as this man. You see, his idea was he shot someone and the person died because he was really good at shooting. And when that didn't happen, it was the only thought on his mind. He couldn't understand why his universe wasn't the way that he'd defined it. And this is really like you, in fact. Anyway, I've put together a little slideshow again about this article in the New Statesman where you're banging on about Nazis and Donald Trump again because you're an Illuminati shill. And I'm not a supporter of Donald Trump, actually. I'm not a supporter of party politics, and I'm not American anyway, so it's not really got anything to do with me. But I just think that if I were American and I were invested in the machinations of the state and I were inclined to vote, the fact that you hate Donald Trump so much is a great endorsement to me. So if I were American and I were going to vote, I'd probably vote for him just because you hate him so much. Just because I think everything is always the opposite of the way that you say that it is. So you're banging on about Hitler and Donald Trump and all sorts of things, and I've put together this little slideshow answering some points in this article. I know I did it already earlier in the week, but I didn't have the whole article then, and I've now been able to read the whole article. It's since been published and you can read it online, and so I've now read the whole article and I haven't commented on everything in it, but I've put together a little slideshow commenting on this and with a few other clips in as well, which you can have a look at in a minute. But before I move on to the slideshow, I just want to comment again on one of the things that you said in it. And you say, if what interests us is simply how to assign individuals rapidly and definitively to the categories of sheep and goats, saved and damned, this is offensively frustrating. So you're talking about this parable of the sheep and goats here that Jesus told, where he said basically that the people who, he said the people who treated him well, who clothed him when he was naked and fed him when he was hungry and gave him water when he was thirsty and so on, they were the sheep and they were put to his right hand side. And the people who didn't do these things, the people who didn't feed him when he was hungry or clothe him when he was naked or visit him when he was in prison and all this kind of thing, he compared to the goats and he put those to the left hand side. And so the sheep, the righteous people, go to eternal salvation, and the goats who didn't do all of these things and didn't help him, they go to eternal damnation. And he says, Jesus says, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did it to me. So I have read this parable to you before on my videos and said that you were actually persecuting Jesus in persecuting me, because I'm a follower of Jesus and also I'm just a human being anyway, and you've done all these evil things to me, so you were actually persecuting Jesus. And we find also when Saul in the Acts of the Apostles was persecuting Christians, Jesus appeared to him and said, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Because persecuting Christians is persecuting Christ. So I have explained all of this to you before as well. You've got a very short memory. So I've just explained that now, and I'm going to read this sentence again. If what interests us is simply how to assign individuals rapidly and definitively to the categories of sheep and goats, saved and damned, this is offensively frustrating. Well, I haven't assigned you rapidly to anything, Rowan. I've known you for over 20 years. I know the way that you behaved to me. I know the experience that other people have had of your abusive behaviour. I've also been researching you since 2009. So that's 7 years now I've been researching you, and certainly for the last 3 years I've been paying a lot of attention and doing a lot of research into you and to the other shady activities that you're involved in. So I haven't assigned you rapidly to anything. All of my opinions of you are based on diligent research and on my professional competence in assessing the mental state of people, where I'd been working in mental health for 12 years. So I don't need to rapidly assign you to anything. I've had a long time to develop the skills to assess you and to research the political activities that you're involved in, your subversive activities, and the noxious effect you have on individuals within your orbit as well, which, as I've said before, has led to various suicides. So I haven't assigned you rapidly to anything, although I can assign you more rapidly than maybe another person could, because I'm a very perceptive individual, and I could already see what kind of person you were when I was only in my 20s in Wales, that you were very attention seeking and preening yourself when you were in public, and some of that was for my benefit because you were trying to get your leg over, but I just thought you were pathetic, narcissistic, attention seeking, rude, incompetent and arrogant. And I'm not saying that to insult you, that was my impression of you back then, and absolutely nothing's happened to make me change my mind about that. In fact, I've just become more convinced the more I've got to know about you, the things that you're involved in, and your toxic effect on other people who come into contact with you, a lot of whom end up dead either by their own hand or quite mysteriously, suddenly, after they've fallen foul of you. So if what interests us is simply how to assign individuals rapidly and definitively to the categories of sheep and goats, saved and damned, this is offensively frustrating. Well, if you're offended and frustrated, I'd just like to say, I really don't care. I could not care less about you feeling offended or frustrated, and in any case you don't feel offended or frustrated because you're a psychopath and you don't have feelings like this. They're quite subtle feelings, feeling offended and feeling frustrated. You're using these words but you don't actually know what they mean in relation to yourself. You've only observed these things in other people. You've never been offended, you've never been frustrated, you've never felt anything other than rage and fear. This is all psychopaths are capable of feeling. And, well, if you feel offended, why don't you run off to your little safe space? But you can rest assured that I'm not going to stop criticising you or drawing other people's attention to your sadistic, satanic behaviour and your subversive activities and the lie after lie after lie after lie after lie that you tell. It's hard to think of an occasion when you've actually told the truth about anything significant. I'm not sure there even is one in my experience. You just lie for the sake of it a lot of times, which is something else that psychopaths do as well. So don't bother telling me you're offended or frustrated, because I couldn't care less. You're a grown-up. If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. So I'll leave it there for this evening, but there's a few clips coming up and a slideshow. And don't forget, I don't know whether I shall be coming over to Paris to arrest you because you're going over there again. I hope you're walking or catching the train because you don't want to be emitting any more carbon dioxide, do you? I mean, there's enough carbon dioxide and other effluents that pours out of your mouth every time you open it, so that's quite enough. So you will be in Paris tomorrow evening spouting some more crap. Something to do with Russian Orthodoxy, I think. And I think you do actually speak French. That's one of the languages that you do speak, rather than all the host of other languages that you're pretending that you speak. So anyway, well, have a nice evening in Paris, but don't forget to be alert, because you'll never know when I'm going to be turning up to arrest you. Hasta la próxima.
I think that the killing of an unarmed man is always going to leave a very uncomfortable feeling, because it doesn't look as if justice is seen to be done in those circumstances. I think it's also true that the different versions of events that have emerged in recent days have not done a great deal of help here.
Sorry.
Different versions of events in recent days have not done a great deal to help. I don't know full details any more than anyone else does, but I do believe that in such circumstances, when we're faced with someone who was manifestly a war criminal, as you might say, in terms of the atrocities inflicted, it is important that justice is seen to be observed. I'll say that more, I think.
Gaslighting, very important term we should all get to know when dealing with psychopaths, both on a personal level and psychopaths on a greater level. The term gaslight and gaslighting comes from an old Hollywood movie called Gaslight, which was about a widow who falls for this guy who moves into her house, who's a psychopath, and he starts having her questioning her sanity in order to have her kill herself or to murder her by doing things like turning her lights down and making noises in the middle of the night and moving furniture in order to drive her insane and convince her that she is going mad, because she's telling people that the house is haunted, and all it is planned by the psychopath to eventually take her home off her. I was reading one story that was incredible about a psychopath an elderly psychopath who was like in his 70s, and he was having an issue. I don't know what the full issue was with this woman who was in her 70s herself. I don't know whether he was trying to drive her into a mental home or into an elderly home, but he was doing things like going into her house in the night and rearranging her furniture. See, that's the kind of thing. This is gaslighting. This is when the psychopath changes the reality around you and makes you question reality. And they'll do it so effectively, they'll have you thinking that black is white and white is black. They will not flinch from doing this in order to get what they want from you, it's basically mind control, but mind control through an incredibly pernicious, nefarious and sadistic manner. And it's not personal, it's just business with these lunatics. It's just how they do things. So it's not a personal vendetta driven by hate. It's just that you have something they want and they're after it. In a political level, gaslighting, well, you see it constantly with politicians. Like, you know, a classic example of this is the whole thing of like fear and fear of terrorists. And there's terrorists looking in every corner. And the biggest terrorists of all are the ones the politicians who are the ones telling you there's terrorists under every corner. Into governments, and your taxes go in to pay for all their security. They're ultimately incompetent. No CCTV camera is going to protect you from being robbed, and no CCTV camera is going to protect you from being raped. The only thing that will stop that is getting the rapist and arresting them, but nobody wants to do that. We have a situation where that's another thing. Psychopaths want it so easy. They don't want to be bothered of going out and getting the bad guys. They're not interested in that. They'd rather just sit back, collect your DNA, put cameras in every bloody street corner and just monitor you, because psychopaths are into monitoring. They're into monitoring. So that's one to know. Gaslighting. Gaslighting is when a psychopath makes you question your sense of reality, and it happens at a personal level when you're involved in a psychopath, and it happens at the greater level when you're dealing with governments. They'll make you question your own reality in an attempt to break down your sovereignty, to break down your personality, and to put you in a state of dependency. So remember that term when dealing with psychopaths. Gaslighting. Okay? But don't be afraid. Stay positive. Thank you.
Saddle me up my milk-white steed, go and fetch me my pony, oh, that I may ride and seek my bride who is gone with the raggle-taggle gypsy, oh. Oh, he rolled high and he rolled low, he rolled through the wood and the copses too. Care I for my house and land, but care I for my treasures, oh, but care I for my new wedded lord. I'm off with the raggle-taggle gypsies, oh.
And I just think that the whole idea of celebrity and fame has become really convoluted and, you know, kind of bastardized, like whereas fame used to be the byproduct of success, and now it's the ultimate goal. And if your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street and it's going nowhere. Like that's just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really not worth it.
Here's the last 9/11 clock in this series, and the most important. You're about to see a scan of a Newsweek magazine. The cover picture is of a man sitting in an office window, his watch prominently displayed. When the watch is flipped over to the way that the man would see it when it's on his arm, hands are pointing directly at 9 and 11. The second hand is even positioned exactly at the 11 mark on the dial. Here's a close-up of that watch. What separates this foreshadowing from the rest is the fact that this magazine is from back in April of 1967, less than 1 year after the construction of the World Trade Center towers began. And the man wearing the watch is the person who made sure they got built. His name? David Rockefeller. Why would he show himself on the cover of a magazine with his watch hands set at 9 and 11 and make sure so many clocks show 9 and 11 in the movies and on television? It's all part of their code, and so far, they must think we're too dumb to notice.
If your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil.